How are we living, boys? This is your 6 most important jungle fundamentals. Now, this video is going to be set up in a way that I legitimately just go over this VOD while telling you the 6 most important things. I've tried so many different editing methods to try and get this information to you directly and in such a real way, and then I realized that most people wouldn't even learn the way that I explained it. So it just has to be conversationally the 6 most important things as streamlined as possible. I'm pulling on my notepad and I'm going to go through with you the most important things. So let's just keep it very straightforward. Okay. Now, the number 1 most important thing is clearing your camps. Why is it important to clear your camps? Because it's the options that you get, okay? When I full clear at 3:30, if I want to get that crab, right, the little scuttle crab that spawns, if I want to get that, then if I clear for 3:30, I must run straight to it. But if I clear at 3:20, I have 10 seconds to play with, 15 seconds at 3:15, right, and so on. So, clearing your camps is the most important thing, I'm sorry, because it gives you options. And as a jungler, you need options, bro. You need them. So, that's what allows you to pick between, oh, this bot gank isn't very good, let me change my wording. This bot gank has a low chance of working, but this mid gank has a higher chance. But also the skirmish at the crab has an even higher chance. And when you can utilize the different options that you're given, you're able to choose, a better outcome in general. So that's why clearing your camps matters so much. It directly impacts the amount of options that you have. So I do frame perfect clears to my own ability as much as I possibly can. I mess up, sure, and I acknowledge that in the moment, but I also don't try and go for such insane, hard to replicate, hard to replicate clears like fiddlesticks ones where you have to double pull everything. It's if you can't pull it off yet, just do the best one that you can and keep it going. And that actually ties into the next point, which is ganking. You have to know how to gank, man. And so I'm in VLC player and I'm just watching this VOD and I'm going to show you kind of the decisions that go through with it. There's multiple different ways to gank bot lane or every lane, and you have to kind of identify what their game plan is and how to counter it the most effective way. So if you look at my screen right now, you'll see their bot lane is past their minion wave. So it seems like they just pushed us back, and what they want to do is likely clear these minions and then crash their wave. So if I were to try and counter that play, if I wanted to gank them, I would actually beeline close to them. Right? They're trying to push forward. So if I'm going to fight them, I want to fight them like that. But if they were trying to run away, I would want to be behind them. So, there's multiple ways to go about this. And many different things play a part in this. If I know this is warded, right? If I know this is warded, I'm going to stay behind this wall, and then I'm going to go when they finally commit. If I don't know, if I think this is not warded, then I'm going to walk close around the wall, right? Try and feel it out. If I at this moment didn't know exactly what they were going to do, I would feel it out. So in this circumstance, I just accept if they dive my bot lane, they dive my bot lane. My bot lane's too low for me to play. But it is worth noting that there's many different ways to traverse this gank. If I walk this way and I walk as wide as possible and I walk to hug the top wall here, then I can really, hard walk behind them. And you should always try and gank from behind, because that means that they have to walk past you the whole time while you're dealing damage. You don't want to deal damage running forward. You want them to have to walk to you, because that's more movement that they have to do, right? That's more time that you can just stand and hit, because they have to walk from, where they're trying to go past you and so on. That's as much damage as you can do. And that's why your ganking line matters, right? So sometimes you want to attack them directly, just straight through, don't care about anything. Sometimes you want to, lightly hover, see what they do, right? Scout it out. And sometimes you want to just go straight behind them and, hey, I'm going max damage into them. So that's your ganking pathing does matter. And that applies throughout actually the whole game. There's going to be times where, one of you has to cut them off, because when you cut someone off, that person threatens to deal enough damage before the enemy can get safe, and so they have to take a different route or take the fight. And that's how you kind of turn just movement into ganks and ganks into kills. So this is another example of it where I see that these two are fighting a ton, right? I just see that. So I'm not going to gank mid from the bottom side of this bush, right? I'm going to go to the top side of it as much as I possibly can, or reasonably can, given the time constraint. So I'm walking to the top, right? I'm trying to hug the top wall. so that when I do, go for this, flash burst, I'm already in range. I don't have to flash W and then run, then Q, like it's all about stuff like that. And that really is the difference between getting these kills and not. So yeah, there's the second one. So again, it was clearing your camps, then ganking. Now let's talk about the third most important thing. I think it is tracking the enemy jungler. And right now there's so much information in this game. Certain wards can tell you everything about a game. So if we go back to the start of this one, right here, right? My Silas wards, and we see that his Gromp and Blue are up, okay? So what does that mean? You know what it means. Answer it. Don't play around. I'm taking a lot of time. Click the subscribe button. I'm just kidding. But he's pathing down. Okay? Now, and we know that because I got my top side, I got my bot side. So he's clearing top down. So if I'm on my 5th camp, it's assumable that he is relatively near his 5th camp. And that's, you just make it simple on yourself, man. And you don't really have to assume anything until like you can look at champions and know, this champion likes to do this, or Kayn has Dark Harvest, so he's likely to path through the range lane and so on. But let one ward tell the whole story. I didn't have to see him to know what he did and where he is. But now that you have better decisions, right? So in this VOD, you've already seen this play, but right here, right? When I see my bot lanes this low, I can't, if this was a defendable position, I would have, just hover the gank, maybe counter the dive. But right here, I see that they're so low and their bot lane would literally just kill that I'm just like, well, I can't even defend them at this point. So I might go for the crab, right? But then I see right here, Lee Sin pivoted a little bit. So I'm like, okay, if he fights at the crab, he has first team walk. So what do? I immediately run away. You got to give it up. Now, it turns out that he goes for bot dive. That is what it is. When I had decided to leave, it is what it is. But to get back to the main point, this is tracking the enemy jungler. So that means that I now know where he's pathing. He's pathing top down. So the only thing that really comes to mind now is, did he start Raptors or Krugs? And, right here, actually, we're going to hit this Scryer. We're going to make sure all of them are dead, even though we already know they are. Just to get the icon, because now when one spawns, I will know what he started, right? And that actually happens right here because we went into his jungle and we saw that both of them, right? We got the death icon gone. Now the first one to spawn, we know exactly what he did. He did Raptors, Krugs, Red, Wolves, Blue Grump. Now that leaves me this ability to steal his Raptors because we figured out where he's going, right? We know what he just did, so we just decided to take his Raptors because we just saw him bot lane. We know that he can't recall for 8 seconds, walk back here for 20 seconds, right? I can take this camp within a 30-second window. And so I do. And, stuff like that ends up really good. So just try and keep track of enemy jungler. Try and utilize whatever wards your team place. Even if they're bad wards, they might just tell you something. Hit tab and see how much farm they have to reinforce what you know. And just keep checking it, right? So, for this one, right, he's on 24 farms, so I know he did all of these. And until I see him at 28, he hasn't done this crab. And just keep doing that, okay? Well, once he takes this crab, he's likely to recall. Now I know if I see him on the map here, if he were to be at this Gromp right now, I would know that he would have recalled and tried to fight me with a lot of, extra damage. But if he... if he had been there so early, like he was in the bush waiting for me, he might not have recalled and I might have just fought him anyway. So you really need to track enemy jungler because, again, when we're talking about these options, okay, bot might not work, mid might work a little bit better, invading might work. Well, you have to factor in their jungler. He's doing one of two things, pathing up or down or invading. So one of three things, but let's stick to two, pathing up or down, right? Cheese and invades plays are different. Just, you case by case those. So when I know that he's pathing down, now I know that every time I path down, he's likely to be a little bit in front of or behind me based on, recall timers and so on. So when I see him here, I know that he hasn't cleared all of his camps. One, because this one's not even alive, but two, because I haven't, right? I'm ahead of him. I would clear way faster. So if I hit tab here, which I should here in a second, right? We're going to see someone without he has 32 farm. So that could be his, if he had 24 on a full clear, 28 plus 32. So now I know his 3640 is right here. And we just keep updating it. Now, at some point in mid-game, if I just went randomly, we forgot we haven't been able to track exactly everything that he's done. That's okay, that happens. But you just keep trying to do it, right? Assume that in mid-game, people take a quadrant and then gank or fight, right? So if he is at his bot side, we're going to assume that his top side is up, and so on. So, the thing that's most important is early game pathing is very static. It happens the same way almost every game. And if you can iron out just figuring out where they're pathing and then making conscious decisions to not feed into their ganks, but maybe even proactively deny theirs or get double crab on them, then you can gain a lot of value. And that's why this is the third most important one. Now, let's talk about objective control. Objective control is one of the most important things. Everyone plays a part in objectives. If you're in silver, you're going to be told that it's your job to do every objective, and it's also your job to know that those guys don't know what they're talking about. Man, I'm locked in. It's not your job to do everything, man. People got to take part in vision. People got to take part in wave states, and just being there, every single part of it, poking with spells and everything. So it's not just your job to do these things, right? But you utilize the map and you make decisions based on them. Like for example here, right? I see 2 neutrals are up and I can decide what I value most. Do I care more about grubs for my team comp? Do I care more about stacking dragons for a team fight comp? Or do I just want to full clear and get super strong myself? Now right here, right? I see Lee Sin is right here. We see him go over for grubs. I'm just going to immediately interact with that, right? I want to fight him. And while I'm walking there, I'm checking health and I'm checking wave states, right? I'm seeing, okay, how much health do they have? If they were to interact with me, could I one-shot them? How would I play this out? If that was a Malphite and Yasuo on enemy team, they were both full health, I wouldn't walk here because they would just walk and kill me. But because I do have my top laner here first, right? Their 2 are low mid. We have a little bit of time to mess around with. And because of that, we use that to burst Lee Sin. But had we not been paying attention or just understanding, how objectives work, then we would have missed this opportunity to kill him and get the objective and have everything good that happened to us. Sometimes neutrals will be, you guys all walk in together, you shoot your spells into bushes, and then you get some wards down, then you try and do the objective. All of that is very good. But more times than not, one team is trolling an objective because they're lazy. And as long as you are not lazy, it is very good. So this one right here, right? Lee Sin gets this dragon. After I get grubs, I path down. And my mid laner's dead. My support's top lane, right? So we know that they have 4 people here because Jace just died top. So if they had one of 4 people, they would have definitely helped him in the fight. We can see 1, 2, 3, and 4. So imagine a world that I walk to this dragon and I hop this wall. I insta-die, right? Because they rotate karma. I can't kill Lee Sin. He kicks me away, and then life is terrible. So in that time that I cannot play for this dragon, I'm just going to, I'm going to clear my camps. I'm going to take a faster recall. I'm already just chalking up anything down here because they have more people. I want to only play where it makes sense. So you have to take some time and really acknowledge hey, I can't get this dragon. I cannot just kill 4 people. And accept it. It's not just your job, and stop acting like it is. And that's number 1. Now, the 5th one is game state understanding. Early game, like I said, is very static, right? You're going to take a full clear. You're going to try and punish his next clear. And, you're going to do a lot of cool stuff like that. Where it's just clearing. Do I have ganks? Do I have a fight? If not, I'm going to recall, get some things. I'm going to do it again. Right? Mid-game gets a little bit more weird, and this is where a lot of people struggle, is what do I do during mid-game? And it's like a cat and mouse kind of effect where, the main thing that you want to do in mid-game is get and control objectives. Now, we just talked about that. You need to know that you need to set them up with vision. You need to wait and see, okay, is there player with TP walking down? Am I at numbers disadvantage? Does my teammate have TP? Does theirs? What's happening on the map? Are they... if my top laner with Ignite walks down, he's on a timer. He has to get this play and then go back. So because of that, you have to know to, pedal to the metal a little bit. And also on the flip side, if your TP top laner split pushing and their Ignite top laner runs down, make enemy team do that neutral. Make them spend the time. Don't do the damage for them. You want to waste their time, right? So it's all about just understanding the game state of like, okay, people are going to try and TP down. Because of that, who should be starting the neutral, right? Whoever starts the neutral once pedal to the metal, they have a reason to get back to whatever they're doing. And that's where a lot of you guys mess up. A lot of you guys are leashing these objectives as 4, and then they pull 5, and now you lost the objective and the team fight. And it's like, well, you should have been looking at what's happening on the other side. And that can actually help you a ton with just understanding the game state and kind of knowing, how to get a little bit more out of it. Now, once you do hit mid game, basically how it works is once a bot lane takes a turret, they're going to swap to mid. They're going to swap 2 to mid so that you have a stronger rotate, right? When I have 2 people mid, we can split 1-1. We go 2 here, right? We're always pulling 4 people. If you had to pull 4 people from bot lane, it's going to take way longer to get top. That's why you pull them to mid. And because you want, once the turret's down, you want usually your range players hitting the turrets because they're safer to do so. So once your bot lane swaps to mid, you have a little bit more, tangible rotates. You'll have more people moving, and that's a good thing. But, you have 2 ways to traverse the mid game, and it's like, do I take the ganking mid lane with my bot lane? Do I take the 3v3s? Or do I gank the side lanes for 2v2s, right? And depending on enemy team comp or how enemy team is playing, that's all you have to think about. Okay, if you have a winning 3v3, if you have Nautilus, Samira, Briar versus 3 champions that can't fight that, then you'd want to take that. And if you have a really good pick comp where you and someone else can always one-shot enemy laner, like I have Malphite, Briar versus I don't know, Orianna, right? Orianna gets hit by either one of us, insta chain CC, death. Done. So you'd benefit more from going to side lanes, and you just kind of look at your team comps, or just look at your best teammates and just try and make a game plan around them. It's actually way better. But you have to be fair about skill analysis, but true. So that's about it. Game state is just a bunch of fancy wording to say I am trying to play towards our strengths and not our weaknesses. And the most important thing about game state understanding is just counting numbers. Counting numbers is a term that I use to say, just count players on the map. That'll tell what their game plan is. And then when you understand that, you know what not to do. Hey, I'm not going to walk into the 5-man pile driver over their blue buff here, right? So right here, my support Silas is trying to solo their blue buff. And you can see here in a moment that mid support, right? 2 of them are here, and then Lee and Lysandra, or Lee and Jace show on this. So you know that they have 4 or 5 people on this side. So what would you say I do? Go to Rift, right? You want to keep them running around the map because then that's 5 people's time that aren't farming, right? They're just walking around together, sharing EXP, not getting ahead. So, spread out the pressure here. And that is that's the main thing. It's just don't walk into, the 5-man ass whooping, bro. You gotta think about it. This guy walked into the ass whooping and died. Look at me though. I'm chilling. I shot ult too. Meanwhile, this Aurora, right? This Aurora saw us on vision run down, chose not to leave, lose their flash and dies. It really is. League is a game of don't be the one to ruin your own day. That's like 90% of this game is you unfortunately making a mistake that ends up killing yourself here. And it sucks so bad to play games like that because the mistakes feel so daunting sometimes. But the reality is that enemy team isn't much better than you, and you might be better than them, but you just keep making mistakes because you're not focused, you're autopiloting, whatever it is, I don't care. Stop walking into the ass whooping. That's it. And you do that by understanding, all right, what's the game state looking like? What does their team want to do? How do I not walk into that ass whooping, do something else, pull them away, and so on. And then again, once you do some side lane stuff, you do that in between times of neutrals. Now, once neutrals set up, right, you kind of figure out how is our team playing this. Okay, we're taking bot prio, so I want to be with my team. It wouldn't make sense for me to be walking through river to Tribush here, because that's where their team is. And you can see, you just kind of wait for an opportunity to come up, and then you make it work. And whoever wins this fight gets the spoils, and that's it. And you just try and make sure that you're utilizing your team in a way. It doesn't, I forget the exact quote, but 5 people doing the wrong play is always better than one guy doing the right. Okay, that's a league tried and true. So understand what they're trying to do, understand what your team's trying to do, and try and utilize it in that way. Take a stance on it. Don't talk about your team. Talk about what you can do for the team and keep it moving. And again, and the last point is risk assessment. You need to understand what you risk when you do these certain things. Especially, I play Briar, man. Everything I do is a risk, man. I hit 1W, it's a risk. Okay? So when I go for this invade, all right, I see 2 people there. I'm like, okay, there could be 3 people here. There is risk to me doing this. I'm worth the shutdown. You need to understand what's at risk. And the further you go, the more enemy teams are going to punish you. So get used to understanding where your risks are, right? Like me this game, right? There's risk to me going to this crab because I might get 3-man, die, and then Lee Sin, this champion that already has better early game than my champion, is now snowballing. Now you have to play into snowballing Lee Sin, which is much harder than even Lee Sin. So there's risk in doing this. Now, sure, you could say I have a timer for this crab, but it's about risk assessment, right? I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what all they have warded. It's not worth finding out the wrong way. So I'm okay to just go take a mid gank, get my own crab, right? Because you just get 1 life is fine. We see that he's still bot side, and we punish him for it. He took on a risk, first of all, clearing so slow, and 2, taking that dive. Because he did a raptor start, right? If you know raptor start, raptor scrugs red, bot side crab, you have about 30 seconds to get back to these raptors. You do raptor start to power farm. So he just fed me level 4 raptors. I'm going to take them, and then I'm going to get my full clear, and now I'm way ahead, right? And that's the risk he took when he took that bot lane gank, and that's how he messed himself up. He put himself so far behind just to kill a laner once, but was it worth? You gotta figure it out. So risk assessment is everywhere, and it's just so important to understand that, risk assessment is everywhere, right? It's your build, it's your play style, it's your champions on your team. If I have a one-shot, lethality build, I need to know that there's way more risk in me starting fights than me joining fights. And if your understanding of, your play style doesn't line up with what you're building, it might not make sense. And that's why on this channel, right, I have a million different Briar builds because I acknowledge that there's millions of people playing Briar that all play differently. And that's why I like to try and figure out builds for everyone. Some people like more skirmish based, more one shot, more AP, more tank. People play the game the way that they want. But you really need to understand risk. And one way that I could explain it is right here, this play, right? This play, we just killed Aurora. I'm going to try and kill this Jace. And I end up diving this Jace. And what if I had died? What if I had died here? So I end up getting out with 1 health. If I had died, maybe my team doesn't get Otacon. And then maybe we don't get Dragon. And maybe maybe Lissandra walks down, kills 2, and then they get Otacon. Then they get Dragon. And then my team gets tilted. They go top and die again. Right? There's risk to everything. And me making that play just because it worked doesn't always mean it's good, right? So maybe, when I look back at this play, I'm like, damn, I should not have done that. And I'm very blessed to get away with it. And so on. So you have to be so aware of what you're risking when you do the things that you do, right? When you just take a full clear, you don't risk much. When you risk a dive pre-objective, you risk a lot, right? And it's not always going to pay out for you. Just because your heart's in the right place doesn't mean your champion is. But there you go. There's 24 minutes of the 6 most important fundamentals. Again, clearing camps, ganking, tracking enemy jungler, objective control, game state, understanding, and risk assessment. Those are the 6 most important fundamentals that you can have in jungle, in my opinion. That's what allows me to get challenger every split, is just focusing in on these things and kind of noticing where I'm doing bad. Now I'm going to give you a game right now where, you can kind of see him more in action. It's one thing for me to talk over a VOD. It's another thing for me to play the game with you. So I'm going to play the game, and I'm going to hopefully explain these things a little bit more maybe in a different way for you. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this helped you. Please let me know in the comments if this helped you, man. Because I tried like a really good editing strat, but then I realized I wasn't giving you enough like real tangible things. And that's content I don't like, is when it's like, well, it looks pretty, but what did I say? I didn't say anything. I explain things a lot better through conversation, and this is just one of those things. So thank you for watching. Have a good one. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the game, and let me know what you thought. Alright, then, boys, today I'm going to be showing you everything that you need to know for your jungle basics. So this will be a standard build. I'm just going the most played build for Briar, which will be Titanic Black Cleaver. And I'm just going to air out some weird parts of people's gameplay that they just don't understand. Like, a lot of you guys think that you have to be making these insanely weird plays 24/7, 365, and that's just not true. So the basics that we're going to go for is just, we're going to clear well, we're going to decide if a play is worth based on how many players can be there, and it's just everything packed into one for your jungle basics. I feel like this is where a lot of you guys kind of get lost in the sauce, man. You just haven't played enough games to like realize when a game is going bad or good, or what certain plays mean. And I feel like I can help you with that. But right here, again, I just use the full clear guide and full clear appropriately. Truly nothing going to be any different. We're going to full clear. We're going to figure out if we have ganks. And if we do, we will take them. And if not, keep pushing. Again, it really benefits you to just have a standard game plan and then keep piling on information from that game plan, right? So my basic game plan is just full clear, and then get crab and maybe gank. And you know what I learned from those situations? I just like, hey, I took this gank this time. Why did that happen? Why did these things happen the way they did? And try and just figure it out from there. Did miss an auto attack, so that's right there. But my W, you don't come up for a hot sec, so we're good. 6, good. As you can see, just a full standard full clear. You can do this too. Nothing crazy here. Now we're going to try and find out where Kha'Zix is, because we don't know where he started, right? There was no ward. I'm going to sweep in, because it's just good standard practice, right? You want to know if they know that you're here or not. Going to hit the scryer towards where Kha'Zix would be going to. Found it. Now we do have bot prio here. I would like to play for this. He might try and walk. So we're kind of zoning him, right? We know he's basically standing there. We're just denying their bot lane the ability to get to the crab. And we know that they're there. I'm kind of scared now. We are on Ash Vision right here. Never mind, we're there. We're not on Vision anymore. They're kind of trolling. I'm going to buffer E into the Nami bubble because it's just way better to do that. Right, if you buffer E into it, then you're at least getting damage reduction while you're CC'd. And you have the chance to E them into the wall, which, by the way, get rolled. Kha'Zix went mid and tried to dive and then died. So we're going to take the crab here. Nice. Whew, huge. My mid laner's pinged me because he wants help with his wave. So I can definitely help him with that. Briar's known for being pretty good at shit like this. As you can see, all he wants to do is he wants his wave to go under turret. And I'm not even going to greed top crab. Nice. Now, again, right, so my basic game plan, so we're going to unpack, is full clear, gank, get crab. And right there, that was like an extended version of the play. Like, usually you don't want to waste too much time going back or forth with your idea, but it turned out to be worth it where we were able to get the gank and keep it moving. We saw Kha'Zix on 32 farm, so that basically means he did 24, died, did Krugs and Raptors for 32, right? So 24, 28, 32. So we knew that this crab was likely up, given his position on the map. Now, he could go for my Raptors here, just on a cheese invade. You know, they might have vision from their mid laner ward or not. So I'm just going to try and get back to my Raptors, not give up anything. But we did get both crabs, so We have a lot of extra vision on the map, as you can see. This one's still up, this one's still up. So he's on 40 farms, so that could have been both of his other 2 camps going straight down. Now we'll know which camps he took, and then we can decide to make a play based off that after. So we went to my Raptors and then likely my Krugs, meaning that he would have both of his bot side camps up. You could look for your own invade here, or you can look to just flash on their mid laner and kill him. Seems like Twitch is going invis, so if he plays down, I can definitely get there in time. Wow, no root. Recall is kind of crazy work. We're just gonna deny this guy getting recall off. Nice. We're able to deny recall. That is insanely good. Huge. I mean, we're just killing them here. They can't really do too much. Bang. That guy just dies for free. And again, you see how, like, when you slow the game down, it just makes a little bit more sense, man. That's all you're trying to do with League, is just make it make sense to you. I'm going to step up on this. They know I'm on ward, so I'm not going to go slow. I'm going to go full ass to grass, something like that. Try to get the damage. Didn't end up getting extra. That's okay. Now, we do want to defend our top side, right? We killed Kha'Zix. Now, Kha'Zix died here, and then he ran back here. This is where his camps were, and he just saw me gank bot. So you know that he is very likely to make a play topside on you. And with that Kled just being there, like, it's a little rough.
Just point the strongest soldier toward the biggest enemy. Almost worked for me.
Now this is where it gets a little scary, so I'm going to lead with a pink ward and a juke. Just to see, you know, hey, is that monstrous Kled thing standing here, because that guy is super strong. Gonna bang out on an E and just kind of dip right now. He has level 6 advantage, which is like the counter for Briar and you do not have ult, you cannot counterplay him like that. My champ just does that sometimes, and that part kind of sucks. I feel like I'm fine to just hit my blue buff here and then go for the neutral following. Again, right, I just do what I can. I engage on him, I deal as much damage. If he starts counterplaying, I'll figure it out following. But other than that, it's not too bad. We see Kled is level 8 versus level 6 Briar, so we know that we'll likely lose this fight. If it comes down to it, we're going to go this way just to see. He's likely checking to see if I'm on the grubs because he saw his jungler die. So he checked the grubs and then realized that I'm not on him. He's like, okay, I did my job. So I'm going to just take the full clear. Again, it's not worth really going for those grubs. And with the crab, sorry, basically means that they would see me if I tried. Like, you can jump the corner, but it's not really worth it because you can't stack the grubs for extra damage. So just is what it is. You kind of accept it and just keep it moving. Better just do something of medium pay than, you know, go for the high risk, high reward. Slow and steady wins the race. That is AP Twitch, but I don't think he's killing Vladimir from that amount of health. I think I just flat out lose this. Even without ult, I just don't have my spells. I can buffer ult into him and pray. Oh, that was a bit swag, huh? I don't know what their 80 carry's doing. This guy's tweaking. Both sums right there. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing. I'm not gonna lie. The impact of landing R was really good. He should have tried to buffer his Q to kill me there, for sure. Or, you know, maybe even step behind the dragon and go for like a W shot if he had it. He likely did have that cooldown, right? Nice.
Water because they're crying for food.
This guy's looking for an invade on camps that aren't there. Luckily, we pinked our own blue buff on the previous, so we know that that's happening. We can actually recall and then go for the neutral objective. As long as we don't get canceled here, life is insanely good. Again, just building the most standard of builds right now. No decision on builds, just playing whichever one has the most people playing it. Nice. And you can see, right, like usually Kha'Zix is a Briar counter if he plays it perfectly, but the reality is that if you just play jungle good, that can bypass the need for champion value. Look for a buffery on that bubble hitting. It's just always good practice. So nice.
I'm hungry.
And try and heal here. Nah, there's nothing I can do there. To be honest, enemy team played kind of insane there. They like had Twitch find Lulu and then had Ka find Vlad, and they pulled their 80 carry, which is like, to be honest, an objectively bad play because of what happens to the turret. But overall, I mean, they were able to kill me for it and get a shutdown. So, but it's definitely still good for us. You just kind of have to, like, you know, you got to think of what happened when that happened, right? And the easiest way to see that is, you know, the amount of players that you see there, just go look at their lane, right? So I see an 80 carry there, I go look at my 80 carry. What is he doing? Why is it good or bad, or what should he be doing? Would have liked to go as Krugs Raptors to his red buff there, but didn't pan out, and that's okay. I just got his first KP, so I think we're doing pretty good this game. I'm down to start stepping for first turret. Feats are definitely, you know, depends on enemy team. Sometimes they have more value, sometimes they have less, but, you know, often when you just can get them for free, you might as well do it.
Moving on 4 limbs was so much easier.
We were able to get that. I don't know where Ka is, but he's most likely bot side because he did just fight us top side, right? So the odds of him being bot side just were higher based on that alone. Need to run from Ash here, so we're just kind of acting like we want to fight, kind of feigning that we have some plan, which we do not have. A little bit of a shadow box diff. Nice. Don't want to overstay for their blue buff because if you think about your timers, right? I want to be here immediately for Rift Herald. Neutrals are the most important thing. Oh man, I'm yapping up. Most important thing in the game, right? So if you overstay for that blue buff, let's say you don't even die, which you probably would. You'd just be late to Rift, and you don't want that, right? You don't want 2 neutrals up because then you allow enemy team to trade. Which, again, we don't want them to be able to trade. We want them to get nothing. So I'm going to send it straight through to topside, kind of get a feel for what the vision is, and then make a play based off that. And you can see that my team is more likely to play for a neutral that's near them. So that's exactly what we're doing. Playing to our, you know, our strong side or our side with more teammates. And then we will likely just rush straight down there, and we might have to skip our camps to do so. That's where, like, if you could find Ka for free, you could make a better decision based on, like, how many camps you could get before that. But obviously, if he's not on vision, we want to assume that he's doing the thing that hurts us the most. We're gonna cancel the Kled engage just to stop him from killing Vlad. Once Kled has no cooldowns, he really can't kill Vlad anymore. Look for just a random ult here. Miss. Nice. Wish the ult hit, but happy it kind of didn't. We were able to kill Kled for basically free. And grab the dragon. And again, it's all about neutrals, right? Neutrals win games, so we didn't get grubs, but we did get double dragon plus Rift Herald. Now with Rift Herald, what's the thing that you do? You just look for as many turrets as possible. So see if you can set up like a strategic bait on their team. So like right now I see two and one dead, so that means that this is just free. So I'm gonna rift that at half health at basically one shot. So I'm gonna let him get full gold or whatever gold he can get from that with me. Bang. This split when you rift. And then we go to Kazakh's camps. Since Ka was top, he shouldn't be here. Or at least we have time before he is. Now Ka might clear his top side or go for my camps. We see that Kled's trying to punish our Vlad here. We're going to use a lot to make sure he dies just because we don't really need our cooldowns for a little bit. And he's basically their like most fed member. So if there's one guy to just make sure he can't play, that's a... My team is doing a little bit of for-funning, but I will tell you, man, Vlad is that champ to for-fun because healing and damage in one is pretty good, by the way. So next neutral is Otacon, so you just want to do everything that you can to get fed before that. And we're actually leaving the inhibs because you want to use inhibs to get huge neutrals, and Otacon is like right under the line of grabbing an inhib for. If you could get Baron, Elder, or Soul, that's usually like where you want to go inhib because it puts a cannon, super minion rather, in every single wave, and when that happens, enemy team gets accelerated like pretty damn fast, so you got to be super sparing with your inhibs. You have to make sure that they're going to pay a hefty price there. So the cool thing about me not going to this fight actually is that I get to protect bot turret, which has a loser bounty. Again, those bounties are what win games. So make sure Kled can't grab that. My team's actually cooking the fight, which is even better. They likely FF seeing that. But just to make sure this guy can't win out on us. And GG. Nice. Jungle basics. Now we can go on to a little bit of damage stat checking. Because again, man, right, matchups, all of that stuff, they do matter. Cool. But reality is much better, right? Just don't bypass every need for, matchup, this and that. Just play objectively good gameplay for your role, and then your expertise with your champion will shine a little bit more when the opportunity presents. Thank you for watching.